Story 1. It's much closer than people think. If your car could drive straight up, you could be in space in less than an hour. Story 2. Cold welding occurs when two pieces of the same type of metal come into contact in a vacuum, resulting in them becoming one piece. Everything we launch into space must be coated or made of dissimilar metals to prevent this phenomenon. Story 3. According to Brian Cox, if the entire duration of the universe's existence, from the Big Bang to the eventual heat death, were scaled down to the duration of a typical 2-hour film, then the entire stelliferous age, from the very first star to the onset of permanent darkness, would not even span the duration of a single frame of film. So if you could somehow watch the 2-hour film version of the universe, you would see 2 hours of complete darkness, with one single blip, lasting less than 1/30th of a second, that would contain the life and death of all the universe's civilizations. I think that's astonishing. To clarify, the blip is not at the end of the film. It occurs somewhere near the very beginning. The blip would be somewhere in the first minute, but it is definitely not the first frame because the first stars did not appear right away. Story 4. Voyager 1 was launched in 1977. It has been traveling at a speed of 38,027 miles per hour or 10.5 miles per second, which is approximately 61,198 kilometers per hour or 17 kilometers per second. In the past 47 years, the total distance covered by Voyager 1 is about 15,484,584,283 miles or 24,920,022,808 kilometers, which is 0.00263 light-years, not even 1% of a light-year. At its current speed, it would take more than 17,500 years to reach 1 light-year. For reference, the Andromeda Galaxy is our galactic neighbor, the nearest to our Milky Way, and it is about 2.5 million light-years away. Story 5. If you fell into a black hole, time would slow down for you so much that the rest of the universe would age billions of years while you barely experienced a moment. Story 6. All the photos we capture of space are from the past, as light takes time to reach us. If the sun suddenly goes dark, the last photons will reach us on Earth after 8.33 minutes. This means that we will remain unaware for 8.33 minutes of something happening at the exact same time in our solar system. What about the galaxy? The time between the emission and reception of photons causes a delay between the action and our perception of it. The longer the distance between the source of light and us, the longer the delay. Story 7. If there was air between the Earth and the sun, the sound coming from the sun would be as loud as a train horn. Story 8. Just remember that you are standing on a planet that is evolving and revolving at 900 miles an hour. It orbits at 19 miles a second, which is how it is reckoned. The sun, which is the source of all our power, along with you, me, and all the stars we can see, are moving at 1,000,000 miles a day in an outer spiral arm, at 400,000 miles an hour, in the galaxy we call the Milky Way. Our galaxy itself contains 100 billion stars and is 100,000 light-years wide from side to side. It bulges in the middle 6,000 light-years thick, but out by us it is just 1,000 light-years wide. We are 30,000 light-years from the galactic center and we orbit around every 200 million years. Our galaxy is only one of millions of billions in this amazing and expanding universe. The universe itself keeps expanding in all directions, moving as fast as it can, at the speed of light. That is 12 million miles a minute, and that is the fastest speed there is. So remember, when you are feeling very small and insecure, how amazingly unlikely your birth is, and pray that there is intelligent life somewhere out in space, because there is little down here on Earth. Story 9. Space is big. You just won't believe how vastly, hugely, and mind-bogglingly big it is. I mean, you may think it's a long way down the road to the pharmacy, but that's just peanuts compared to space. Story 10. Here are a few examples. 1. Due to time dilation related to gravity, an astronaut has spent so much time in space that he technically traveled 0.2 seconds into the future. A thought experiment known as the Boltzmann brain theorizes that it is not only entirely possible but more plausible than all of humanity existing. The theory suggests that a human brain could spontaneously form in the vacuum of space, complete with memories, senses, and everything else, and then cease to exist. The key aspect of the experiment is that this brain could be you. You might be a brain in space that spontaneously formed, with memories of everything in the world, but none of it ever happened. Story 11. By moving faster through space, you move slower through time. Imagine what that would look like if the effect were significant at human speeds. If someone called you on an airplane's Wi-Fi with a compensated signal, their voice would sound in slow motion to you, and their heart would be beating half as fast as yours. This phenomenon does occur, but it is too small to notice at human speeds without highly precise measurements. It becomes significant when approaching the speed of light. Story 12. The vacuum of space might not be at its lowest energy level. A small, very unlikely quantum fluctuation somewhere in space can drop the vacuum to a lower energy level, causing a cascade as everything around it starts getting pulled to the lower energy level as well. This bubble of vacuum decay will expand at the speed of light and essentially destroy the universe as it rewrites the laws of physics. We don't know for sure if our vacuum is at its lowest energy level, but it is apparently quite plausible and an interesting thought. Story 13. The heat death of the universe still messes with my head, honestly. Oh, and black hole stars. They are theoretical, but still. Story 14. The atoms in your body were created billions of years ago inside countless different stars. Story 15. The universe is incredibly young at 13.8 billion years old. Compared to stars that are estimated to live up to 100 billion years, and black holes that can exist for 10 to the power of 100 years, the age of the universe is insignificant. Story 16. If you shrunk the Milky Way galaxy to the size of the continental United States, our entire solar system would fit on the tip of your finger, with the sun easily fitting between two ridges of your fingerprint. Story 17. If we take the entire lifespan of the universe and view it as one single year, then we are in the first millisecond of January 1st. Story 18. That it's a vast universe and we are all quite small. We are just tiny specks about the size of Mickey Rooney. Story 19. The amount of resources that exist within it is immense. Currently, we are using only 0.014 of the energy that reaches Earth. The energy that reaches Earth is approximately 0.00000000144% of the energy the sun emits. Even at our current usage efficiency, the sun could support 15 trillion people today. The sun is just one of 100 billion stars within the Milky Way, and it isn't even that large. Therefore, the Milky Way could accommodate 1.5 septillion people. The Milky Way is just one of trillions of galaxies. There are virtually unlimited resources available. Story 20. Space has a smell, and different parts of space have distinct aromas. Our solar system reportedly smells like cooked meat, which astronauts notice on their suits when they return from a spacewalk. This is due to the particles emitted by our sun. A different star or solar system would have a different scent. Additionally, the sun is emitting sounds. We just cannot hear them. Story 21. The universe is metastable. Sometime in the hopefully very distant future, when we least expect it, it will all go boom. Story 22. We will never know the bounds of the universe because light from some stars will never reach us due to galactic dynamics. Story 23. Carl Sagan was the only person in history to say millions and billions through his nasal turbinates without using his vocal cords. Story 24. The unobservable universe is a result of the accelerating expansion of space. Some regions are moving away faster than the speed of light, meaning we will never be able to observe them. As a result, most of the universe will remain forever hidden. Story 25. Our universe is so vast that you can never reach its end, not because there isn't one, but because by the time you arrive, it would have already expanded so significantly that you could continue in that pursuit indefinitely without ever catching up. Story 26. Just after the Big Bang, the expansion of the universe was so fast that it was faster than the speed of light. This means that at the very first second of time as we know it, the universe was effectively going back in time. Story 27. It's endless, and there are other galaxies out there. We definitely aren't alone. If you think otherwise, you are mistaken. If we exist in our galaxy, others do too, even if they are light years away. Story 28. The biggest black hole that we have found so far in the Phoenix cluster, 8.6 billion light years away, is 100 billion times the mass of our Sun. Story 29. The actual universe, as we are discovering, is bigger, grander, and more magnificent than any Bronze Age religious authors dared to dream. So far, anyway, there is no one else out here. It is ours for the taking. We should stop squabbling over scraps on one small, wet, dirty pebble. Story 30. A star could explode, and you wouldn't hear it. All the movie battles in space would be completely silent. Story 31. Because the space is expanding, energy is actually lost as the wavelength widens due to this expansion. Story 32. We have no idea how vast it truly is. We can only state that we know the estimated size of the observable universe. Story 33. The fact that the Oort cloud, which surrounds our solar system, has hundreds, if not thousands, of times more water than Earth is especially impressive. This is noteworthy considering the cloud isn't a tightly packed cluster of comets, but rather a vast space with sparse objects that are many miles apart from one another. Story 34. The Sun is enormous. It constitutes 99% of the total mass of our solar system. If you were to remove 99% of the Sun's mass, the remaining 1% would still account for 95% of the total mass of the solar system. Story 35. If the Sun were a marble in front of you, Neptune would be the ball from a ballpoint pen, approximately 5 feet away. Alpha Centauri would be a slightly larger marble, 30 miles away. Story 36. Not the most insane, but fascinating nonetheless. A single Earth day, 24 hours, on Venus is longer than a single Earth year, 365 days. Venus has a rotation period of 243 days and a revolution around the Sun of 225 days. Therefore, a day on Venus is longer than a year on Venus. Story 37. Barnard 68 is a molecular cloud, dark absorption nebula, or Bok globule. It is both close and dense enough that stars behind it cannot be seen from Earth. Story 38. Since everything outside our solar system is multiple light years away, we see it as it was multiple years ago. Naturally, if you look at objects farther away, they are older. Here's an interesting fact. You can observe objects that are 13.8 billion years old, not long after the Big Bang. At that point, you are looking at a time before stars existed and even before atoms existed. The entire universe was a large ball of supercharged plasma. Story 39. The odds of a rogue black hole wandering into our solar system are greater than my chances of winning the jackpot in the lottery. Story 40. If aliens visited Earth, it would be to see a solar eclipse, as this event is incredibly rare and is a unique feature of our planet. Story 41. You could send out 1 trillion ships traveling at 1 trillion times the speed of light, hypothetically, for 1 trillion years and still not cover even 1% of what is out there. Story 42. Eventually, the universe will cool down, all work will stop, and every block of matter will evaporate down to single atoms, which will slowly become more segregated from each other as the universe continues to expand. Every single particle that began as an infinitely dense single point will become infinitely distant from every other particle that ever existed. The universe will continue to expand until, effectively and in practical terms, from any one particle's point of reference, there is only one single particle in the entire universe. Is this a fact? Technically, no. But it is the most widely accepted theoretical model for the extremely distant future trajectory and ultimate fate of the universe that we currently have, as far as I know. Story 43. There is no clear boundary between the atmosphere and space, just an arbitrary label humans have assigned. The International Space Station needs to be reboosted every few weeks because the atmosphere constantly slows it down. Story 44. A significant portion of solar systems has multiple stars. Systems like ours with a single star may be the exception rather than the norm. Story 45. Our galaxy cluster is moving toward the Great Attractor, but due to expansion, we will never reach it. It is like an ant crawling on an ever-expanding balloon. Story 46. In the beginning, the universe was created. This made many people very angry and has been widely regarded as a poor decision. Story 47. Space is so vast that if you set off now, it would take a long time to reach any destination. Everything is incredibly distant. Story 48. If you counted all of the planets in the observable universe 1 per second, it would take you longer than the entire history of the universe, approximately 4.6 million times longer. This is the number of seconds in about 14 billion years multiplied by 4.6 million. Story 49. Even if you try your hardest, you will never be able to comprehend the true scale and size that it entails. Story 50. Astrophysicists had thought that if a magnetar released a flare, it would be enormous. There is one known to be so close to us that if it had a large flare or went supernova, it could likely sterilize our planet. Story 51. If an astronaut were to survive the destruction of Earth while in space, they would not live for long due to the reduced oxygen available later. Story 52. The Great Attractor. There is something that is extending its gravitational pull over 100,000 galaxies, including ours, and drawing them in. We have no idea what it is and won't for 50 to 100 million years because it is on the other side of the center of the galaxy, so we cannot see it. We have to wait to swing around. But that does not change the fact that there is something huge and hidden that is attracting multiple galaxies. If that is not real-life eldritch horror, then I do not know what is. Story 53. Our sun is a second, or possibly even a third-generation star. This means the material that initially clumped together over countless years to create our star was originally expelled in the cataclysmic supernova explosion of at least one, if not two, previous stars. If it is indeed a third-generation star, those previous stars would have had to coalesce over millennia from the first material after the Big Bang, burn for further millennia, explode, reform, burn again, explode again, and form anew. The time taken is beyond our comprehension. Story 54. Our next closest star is 4.3 light-years away, so if we somehow manage to travel at light speed, it would still take 4.3 years to get there. Space is vast. Story 55. When Andromeda and the Milky Way collide in 5 billion years, it is very likely that there will be few star collisions. There is a lot of space between stars. It is said that when galaxies collide, it is like smoke colliding with smoke, and there is almost no physical contact. Story 56. Using the physical particle temperature, which is the average kinetic energy of particles, indicates that space is extremely hot. The particles move incredibly fast, and their individual temperatures can reach thousands or even millions of degrees Kelvin. However, the amount of particles is extremely low, creating a near-vacuum environment, which results in a perceived temperature that is very low. Story 57. The universe consists of three components: normal or visible matter, 5%, dark matter, 27%, and dark energy, 68%. Dark matter and dark energy are mysterious substances that influence and shape the cosmos, and scientists are still working to understand them. Story 58. Due to the fact that this has never been tested on humans, and based on sad cases involving dogs, it would take roughly 90 seconds to kill someone if they were exposed to space without a suit. Story 59. There are billions of planets in each galaxy and billions of galaxies. Most people can't even imagine the scale of a billion, let alone trillions of planets. Furthermore, the distance is over 90 billion light-years. Space is so vast that it would take our fastest current spacecraft a trillion years to cross it, or longer than the time our planet has existed, just to reach halfway. Story 60. Maybe not so insane but surprising to many, the average distance between asteroids in the asteroid belt is 1 million kilometers or 600,000 miles. It is hardly a dodge-and-weave situation like science fiction depicts. Story 61. Because the universe is expanding faster than the speed of light in some regions, there are entire galaxies that we will never be able to see, no matter how advanced our technology becomes or how long we wait. Story 62. It's astounding to consider that if Earth were on a collision course with an asteroid, both the human species and countless other species would not survive. Story 63. The amount my girlfriend needs always seems to be the exact size and shape that I currently occupy. Story 64. Our galaxy, the Milky Way, and the Andromeda Galaxy are expected to merge in about 4 billion years. The Milky Way contains 200 billion stars, while Andromeda has 1 trillion stars. Scientists anticipate no collisions of stars due to the vast empty spaces between them. Story 65. If you line all of the planets in the solar system end to end, they would fit in the space between the Earth and the Moon. Story 66. GPS systems must account for the fact that at its widest point, the globe moves faster than at the poles. It is similar to runners on the far-right track needing to cover more distance to keep up with others while remaining part of the same race. If it were not computed, GPS would not function correctly. Story 67. Uranus and Neptune are thought to rain diamonds, where extreme pressure and temperature conditions deep within the atmospheres allow carbon atoms to form diamonds. Story 68. Since space is infinite, there is an infinite amount of gas clouds that have come together to spell out the word insane. Story 69. This is unknown to most, but the distance from the Moon to the Earth is often underestimated. To put it in perspective, you can fit the widths of all other planets in our solar system side by side between the Moon and Earth and still have room left over. Story 70. It will take 8 minutes for the sun to die out because that is how long it takes for light to travel to Earth. Story 71. It's infinite. Our entire existence is defined by boundaries and limitations, yet space is truly limitless. Story 72. Space is vast. You won't believe how immensely large it is. You may think it's a long way to the pharmacy, but that's just trivial compared to space. Story 73. Space is vast. You won't believe how immensely, incredibly, and astonishingly vast it is. You may think it's a long way to the pharmacy, but that's just insignificant compared to space. Story 74. I don't remember the exact number, but every year Earth's orbit is crossed by thousands of rocks that could potentially end humanity if one hit us. We would never see it coming. There wouldn't be any signs like in the movies. There would be no slow descent as it pierces the atmosphere either. It would hit faster than a bullet, and everything underneath would be destroyed by the air pressure created before it even touches the ground. Story 75. Oh man, this comment section really highlights the importance of education. I am just waiting for the flat earthers to show up. Story 76. Space is vast. You won't believe how immense and astonishing it is. You may think it's a long way to the chemists, but that is insignificant compared to the expanse of space. Thanks a bunch for sticking around till the end of the video. Remember to subscribe, and until next time, stay awesome and goodbye.